This system generates electricity using air. To make a light bulb illuminate, I use power stored in bottles. I experiment with magnetic power to determine how much electricity I can produce.
A barefoot teenager from rural Malawi just did something that has engineers scratching their heads and an entire village celebrating. Ernest Andrew dropped out of school in 2018 because his family could not afford the fees. 6 years later, he built a generator that he claims runs on air. No batteries, no solar panels, just air. And right now, 15 homes in his village are lit up every night because of it. His name is Ernest Andrew, and whether skeptics believe him or not, the lights are on. The phones are charging. Children are doing homework after dark for the first time. The question is not whether it works. People in Chinguwo Village can see that it does. The question is how. Ernest Andrew lives in Chinguwo Village in Dowa District, Malawi. The village sits just 2 kilometers from Dowa Town, where the national electricity grid ends. That proximity makes the darkness even more painful. The poles are visible from the village. The wires are right there. But 94% of rural Malawians live without electricity. Ernest's village was no exception. For years, families spent whatever little money they had on torches, candles, and batteries. Children studied by candlelight or not at all. Businesses could not operate after sunset. Life stopped when the sun went down. Ernest watched his mother, Evelyn Chinguwo, struggle to buy candles week after week. He watched neighbors spend money they did not have just to see in the dark. In 2018, when he dropped out of school in Form 2 because his family could not pay the fees, Ernest decided to do something about it. He started collecting scrap materials, old wires, bicycle parts, magnets, bottles, whatever he could find. His father, Andrea Chinguwo, the village headman, remembers that Ernest had always been fascinated by wires, batteries, and radio parts. As a child, he would take things apart just to see how they worked. Now, as a teenager with no formal engineering training, he was trying to put something together that no one had seen before. For 6 years, Ernest worked in secret. He experimented. He failed. He tried again. Villagers saw him tinkering with strange contraptions but had no idea what he was building. Some thought he was wasting his time. Others worried he would hurt himself playing with electricity. But Ernest kept going. He did not have textbooks. He did not have teachers. He had only his intuition, his hands, and an unshakable belief that he could create power from the air around him. 3 months before February 2024, Ernest succeeded. He built what he calls an air-powered generator. He connected it to his parents' house first. When the lights came on, neighbors stopped laughing. Joyce Feary, one of the first to see it, admitted she had been skeptical. She said she was among those who doubted his ability to generate electricity that could be used in homes. But when she saw his parents' house glowing with light, she begged him to connect hers too. Ernest agreed.
You should have seen the night we first switched it on. The whole place lit up like town. We can charge phones.
By early 2024, he had connected 9 homes. By March, the number grew to 15. The local primary school, Chinguwo 2, asked him to bring electricity to their classrooms. Ernest did. Now children who once studied by candlelight can do their homework at night. Ernest, the boy who dropped out because he could not afford school fees, is now lighting up the very school that could not keep him. So how does it work? Ernest's explanation is simple but puzzling. He says the air fills bottles where wires produce an electromagnetic field. That magnetic field generates electricity, which gets transmitted through cables and poles to the houses. He claims his generator produces 1,000 volts of electricity. He says he uses power stored in bottles to make light bulbs illuminate. He says he experiments with magnetic power to determine how much electricity he can produce. Engineers who have examined the system are confused. They do not understand what type of air he is using. They do not know what reaction is occurring. They do not know how energy is being extracted. One engineer admitted openly that they do not know how Ernest is taking air into his system to produce electricity. Ernest either cannot or will not explain the full mechanism. His silence frustrates the experts.
What type of air is he using? We don't know. What air is doing to produce the power? We don't know. And he is not saying. How is he taking the air into his system to produce it? electricity? We don't know.
But maybe that silence is strategic. History is filled with African inventors whose ideas were stolen the moment they explained them. Ernest may be protecting his invention by keeping the details to himself. The Malawi government took notice. Energy Minister Ibrahim Matola visited the village and expressed appreciation for the invention. He said such innovations can help the country achieve access to electricity that is not only widespread but also affordable and sustainable. The government organized a team of experts to assist Ernest. Mercy Mpakul, the director of planning and development for the district, donated training materials, protective gear, electricity wires, and a gadget for measuring electricity output. She said the district wants to ensure that whenever Ernest is working on the appliances, he is safe. The support did not stop there. The government asked Ernest to illuminate the nearby public primary school. Ernest accepted. The same school that could not keep him enrolled because of unpaid fees now relies on him for power. The irony is not lost on anyone. Ernest is also working on another project. He wants to build a generator to pump water at a distance of 200 meters. He plans to extend electricity to more homes and businesses. His vision is bigger than his village. He wants to see young people across Malawi having access to electricity so they can open businesses and employ others. The reactions have been mixed. Villagers are celebrating. Joyce Fury no longer spends money on torches and batteries. She plans to start a business charging neighbors' phones and cooking with electricity. Ernest's mother said that previously, they lived in the dark. The money they used to buy candles and batteries is now being used for other important things. The transformation is real for them. The lights are on. The phones are charging. Life has changed. Engineers and scientists, however, are skeptical. They cannot explain how a system that claims to extract energy from air can work without violating basic principles of thermodynamics. Energy cannot be created or destroyed, only converted from one form to another. If Ernest is truly generating electricity from air without any external energy input, he has discovered something that contradicts established physics. That sounds impossible, yet the lights are on. Some suggest that Ernest may be using a hidden energy source that he has not disclosed. Perhaps batteries hidden somewhere in the system. Perhaps a connection to the grid that no one has noticed. Perhaps a chemical reaction that he does not understand. But if any of these explanations were true, why would the Malawi government get involved? Why would engineers be confused instead of immediately identifying the trick? Why would an entire village risk their safety and money connecting to a system they knew was fake? The simplest explanation is that Ernest has built something real, even if he cannot fully explain it. He may not understand the scientific principles behind his own invention. Many inventors throughout history stumbled upon discoveries without fully grasping the theory. What matters is whether the invention functions, and according to 15 families in Chinguwo Village, it does. Ernest Andrew represents something bigger than one invention. He represents African ingenuity thriving despite systemic neglect. He dropped out of school not because he lacked intelligence but because the system failed him. He taught himself engineering not because he had access to labs and textbooks, but because necessity forced innovation. He succeeded not because institutions supported him, but because he refused to accept darkness as inevitable. Malawi faces enormous energy challenges. According to the World Bank, 17.7 million Malawians lack access to electricity. That is the majority of the population. Only 12% of households nationwide are connected to the national grid. In rural areas, the number drops to 4%. The Malawi Rural Electrification Program, launched in 1980, has failed to reach most villages 44 years later. Ernest's village is 2 kilometers from the grid. 2 kilometers. And yet, they lived in darkness for decades. Ernest's story exposes the failure of formal systems to solve basic problems. Governments, corporations, and international organizations have spent billions trying to bring electricity to rural Africa. Progress has been slow. Bureaucracy, corruption, and mismanagement have stalled projects for years. Meanwhile, a teenager with no budget, no education, and no institutional support solved the problem for his village in 6 years. This is not the first time African inventors have done what the world said was impossible. Maxwell Chikumbutso from Zimbabwe built a self-powered generator that stunned engineers. William Kamkwamba from Malawi built a windmill from scrap and brought electricity to his village as a teenager. Kelvin Doe from Sierra Leone built a radio station and generators from trash at age 13. These are not anomalies. They are proof that African genius exists everywhere, waiting for the opportunity to emerge. What makes Ernest's story different is the timing. In 2024, the world is obsessed with renewable energy, solar panels, wind turbines, batteries. Billions are being invested in technologies that are expensive, require maintenance, and depend on supply chains controlled by corporations. Ernest's invention, if it works as claimed, bypasses all of that. No panels, no turbines, no batteries, just air. If this technology can be scaled, it could disrupt the entire energy industry. That disruption is exactly why some people refuse to believe it. Fossil fuel companies, utility giants, and governments that use energy as a tool of control have no interest in a world where power is free and decentralized. If villages can generate their own electricity without buying fuel or connecting to grids, entire industries collapse. The economic and political implications are enormous. That is why Ernest's invention is being met with skepticism, doubt, and silence from those who have the most to lose. The Malawi government's involvement is encouraging. They could have ignored Ernest or dismissed him as a fraud. Instead, they sent officials, donated materials, and organized experts to help him. That suggests they believe he has created something real. Whether his invention can be scaled, whether it can be replicated, whether it can be explained in scientific terms, those questions remain unanswered. But the government's support indicates that dismissing Ernest would be a mistake. Ernest Andrew is 19 years old. He has no degree, no labor, no research team, no corporate backing. What he has is a generator that lights up 15 homes, powers a school, and has the Malawi government paying attention. He has a village that believes in him. He has a vision to bring electricity to every corner of Malawi. And he has a story that challenges everything the world assumes about where innovation comes from and who gets to be called a genius. The future of Ernest's invention is uncertain. Will engineers figure out how it works? Will it be scaled to power entire regions? Will corporations try to steal it? Will it be dismissed as a fluke? No one knows. What is certain is that right now, in a village in Malawi, children are studying at night. Phones are charging. Businesses are running. And a teenager who the system left behind is the reason why. Ernest Andrew may or may not have defied the laws of physics, but he has definitely defied the expectations of a world that tried to keep him in the dark. And for the people of Chinguwo Village, that is more than enough.